want to find that drive and focus that has you locked in and on fire every single day, my book, The Mirror of Motivation, will do it for you. I bought a copy for you. You take care of the shipping. The book is free. Click the link down there. I got you. You're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, the go-getter energy that moves you to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Putting all this together, you get the mindset, the method, the philosophy, the book, the podcast known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is how to be where it's at. And I'm putting where it's at in air quotes. Quote, where it's at, close quote. How do you place yourself in the position of being where things are happening, where it's going down, and that it is referring to your definite chief aim, is referring to your business. What we just talked about in yesterday's episode, minding your business, how to be in the place where your business is taking place so you can get the most out of your skills and out of what's ever going on that scene, how to be on the scene. I'll tell you a quick story. Back in the early 2000s, there was a TV show for the N1 mixtape. For those of you who don't know what that is, that was like street basketball. And I'm talking about literally playing in the street, or on the blacktop rather, with the same material that they use on the street. And the N1 mixtape had the TV show. It was really popular in the early 2000s. ESPN picked up the show, and they were following these guys, these street ballers, many of them mostly from New York, the New York City area. They would travel around the United States, and they would hold open street ball runs for random players in whatever city they showed up to give these players a chance to show their game to the N1 guys, maybe join the N1 team or play against the N1 guys in a game and be on the TV show. And there was a player on the N1 mixtape show named Ali Mo. He was from Harlem, New York. And he passed away actually a few years ago, so rest in peace to Ali Mo. But he told this story, well, not a story, but he was just talking to the camera once, and he said, you know, we travel around and some of these guys are in these small towns and they're dominating the pickup runs in these small towns, and they think that they're somebody because they're dominating the run in this town in Oklahoma or Vancouver or Portland or something like that. But they got to understand that they're playing against dudes who just got off their shift at Walgreens, and they're dominating them, and they think they're somebody because of that. And what Ali Mo went on to say was that, look, street ball, where it really goes down, the scene of street ball happens in New York City. So if you want to consider yourself the best street baller out there, you would have to go to New York. You have to come to where it's at, which is New York, and you got to prove yourself against the people who are actually doing it. You got to prove yourself against the people who actually made street ball into street ball. And he was absolutely right, because as I said, the whole street ball phenomenon started in New York before it was on TV, before we had it on VHS tapes, before it was online. It was all happening in New York, and then it became global, but it started in that place. So his point was absolutely correct, that you have to come to the place where it's going down. And at that time, that's what it was. I have no idea what we would even do with it now. I don't know if we even have street ball anymore, since everybody wants to work out in an indoor gym and have their trainers so they can make their YouTube and Instagram videos. So maybe street ball is over. Who knows? Somebody can let me know. But when I wanted to play ball, and I'm talking about when I wanted to get into the pro basketball world, I understood that where it was at for me in terms of me minding my business was that I had to go to an exposure event. What is an exposure event? It's a place where a bunch of players show up, a bunch of decision makers from the pro basketball world show up, and they watch you play to see if you're capable of helping their team and maybe offer you a contract. I couldn't just sit home and hope for attention. I couldn't just go to my local LA Fitness and bust some dude's ass who worked at the Wendy's across the street. I had to go to where it was at in order to get my opportunity. And today is all about that, going to where it's at for you as far as your business goes, so you can get into whatever it is you need to get into. But you need to know, where's the place I need to go to so I can get to where I want to be. Point number one. Today's topic is how to be where it's at. The first step is you got to do some market research. What does market research mean? Market research means know what business you're in and then do research to find out what's going on in that business. That's all it means. So step one, you got to know what your business is. You don't know what business you're in, you can't do market research because you have no idea what you're researching. So once you know, then ask yourself the following questions. Where is it going down in my industry? Where are things happening? When people make things happen in my industry, where are they at when it happens? on average, in aggregate, where is it usually happening? What steps are they usually taking? Where are they placing themselves? Who are they getting themselves in front of? Who are they talking to? How are they getting themselves seen, heard, and known? These are questions that you need to ask and questions that you need to have answers to. Until you have answers to these questions, your market research is not complete. Do you even know the answers to these questions? Have you even thought of it before? Have they occurred to you? If they have not, then they better start occurring to you now, because I just handed them to you. If you don't know the answers, make it your business to find out the answers immediately. This should be your immediate order of business, because this is your business. This is the business you're in, right? This is the thing you should be focusing on. In hip hop, there used to be a conference called Jack the Rapper. There was another one called How Can I Be Down? And both of these conferences, I never went to them because I'm not in the hip hop industry, even though I'm a fan. So I knew about them because I'm a fan in the industry. But this is the place where you would go if you wanted to be in the game. All right, that's where you would show up if you were trying to get down. I heard DJ Khaled say that back in the 90s, back in the mid 90s, before anybody knew who DJ Khaled was, he's a local guy. He used to go to these conferences. He would travel to wherever they were, and he would go to buy a ticket. He would go to these conferences because he was trying to get in the game. He wanted people to know his name. He was trying to get any job, maybe at a radio station, spinning records, doing whatever he could just to get himself in the game. And he knew that was the place where it was happening. Even people who were already in the game. For example, somebody like Puff Daddy, who was a A&R person, that he started his own company. He was looking for talent. So when he was looking for talent, he didn't just sit in his office and hope somebody knocked on his door. He didn't just stand outside the building and hope somebody walked by him and said, "Hey, can I possibly get a job, Mr. Puff Daddy?" No, he went to where it was going down. He went to the place that everyone was congregating because he knew that they knew that was the place to be. And if he wanted to find some talent, he needed to be where all the talent was at, because that would give him the best chance of finding the people that he wanted to work for his company or maybe be artists on his label. So everybody, from people who are making the hiring decisions and the people who want to get hired, they're all going to certain places. There are certain congregations, certain places that they meet. Now, back then, it was a physical meeting. Nowadays, there are still physical meetings, but there are also online places. Maybe it's a Facebook group. Maybe it's some community that you can buy into. Maybe it's a mastermind that meets through a Skype call or a Zoom video call every 3 weeks or something like that. But you need to find out where these places are. Okay? Internet marketing, for example, has conferences that everybody who somebody goes to. In basketball, there are places that everybody goes to. In podcasting, maybe there are places that people go to. If they are trying to get on, they're trying to get more known, they're trying to meet a certain person, they go to these places. Individual people can make their own events that are where it's at. For example, take somebody like Tony Robbins, very big guy, known as a motivational speaker. I guess he doesn't call himself that, but that's where a lot of people, the category that a lot of people put him in. He puts together his own events that are where it's at. If you're a big fan of Tony Robbins, when he has a certain event in Miami, you go to it because that's where all the Tony Robbins fans are going to be at. If you want to meet them, that's probably the best place to go, one of those events, because that's where all the people are who are in that particular scene. So know where your places are for your scene, where people congregate. Maybe it's virtual, maybe it's physical, and make sure that you are in these places. Point number 2. Today's topic is how to be where it's at. Being there is the first step. All right, just getting there, that's only the first step. That's not the end of your work. Just because you showed up doesn't mean you're done. Now you need to make your presence felt. Make your presence worth something. Meaning, the fact that you're there should mean something, and the fact that you're not there should also mean something when you're not. Don't just be a spectator forever. Now, maybe you'll start off as a spectator so you can learn, you can see what's going on, and you can learn, know how to move around, but you're not going to stay a spectator. At some point, you need to make yourself into a somebody in that scene. How do you do that? Well, here's the question you can ask yourself. How can I provide value to the scene? What can I offer that will make this place better just because I offered it and I delivered on it? And let me give you a note to once you start to come up with some answers to this question, is that you will need to do this, provide value, before any exchange will take place. Nobody's going to be willing to make an exchange for you until you have provided some value. Because first of all, you have to prove that you have some value to offer, because you can talk about it, but then you got to prove that you have value to offer. Then you got to actually do it. In other words, you're providing value knowing that you are probably not going to get anything tangible in return for the value that you're providing. But at the same time, you're a nobody. Nobody knows you on that scene. You have not yet proven yourself. You have not delivered anything that makes you worth a return on investment. So therefore, you should be happy to even have someone's attention to give your investment. You have their attention. That's the one thing that you're getting. All right, that's not tangible, but you have it. you must be willing to provide value for nothing in exchange at first. At least be willing to do this. Maybe you'll actually get something, but maybe you won't. But be okay with that, at least at the beginning, because this is how you make yourself somebody. This is how you make yourself known. This is how you make yourself someone that people will miss when you're not around. Provide value knowing that you may not get something in exchange, and be okay with that. Why? Because this is the easiest and quickest way to get your foot in the door. I get a lot of questions from people who are asking something about, how can I get my foot in the door in a certain space? How can I get known? How can I get people to know who I am? How can I get people to give me a chance to try out whatever I'm offering, to let me do whatever it is that I'm doing? This is how you do it. You offer value, ask for nothing in exchange, and keep doing it until people need you to be in the room. Let me say that once more for those who weren't listening. You want to get your foot in the door. Here's how you do it. Offer value, ask for and expect nothing in exchange, and keep doing it until you get to the point that people need you to be in the room, that they cannot do without you being in the room. There's a rapper by the name of Lil Wayne. Back in around in 2000, and this is probably from around 2005 up to about 2008, Lil Wayne just went on a mission to where he was putting out mixtape after mixtape, and all he was doing was grabbing some beat from some song that we might have already known about and just rapping over these songs. That's all he was doing, just rapping and rapping and rapping. He just rapped his head off for about a good 3-year period. He was out every week. He was putting something new out. All right, everywhere you went, every car you heard who was playing rap music was playing some Lil Wayne mixtape. And what did Lil Wayne do in that period? Now, mind you, these mixtapes, often he probably wasn't making too much money from them. He was just putting them out for free. And it wasn't like he could copyright the music. He was using somebody else's beat. So he couldn't charge money for that. It was somebody else's production. But he was putting his raps on top of this stuff to the point that his name was so out there in the music industry, so out there in the rap world, that every rap fan was talking about him. Even rappers were talking about him. People started wanting him on their songs. And all of a sudden, Lil Wayne was so needed that if he went away, people would have missed him. People would have been like, where the hell is Lil Wayne? Even though they hadn't bought anything from him, they had just consumed what he had been putting out. He had made himself so valuable by providing so much value to the market that people needed him. People were calling his name. People were screaming his name. So when he finally put out something for sale, like an album, or he was a feature, a guest on somebody else's song, that song went and blew up. His album went and blew up, and he sold a whole lot of records and made himself a whole lot of money and made himself a household name in the hip hop industry still to this day, simply because he kept giving to the point that people could not live without him. A few years earlier, a guy named 50 Cent had done the exact same thing. 50 Cent and G-Unit mixtapes. And he wasn't worried about making money from his mixtapes. 50 Cent just wanted everybody to know his name. And he kept putting out good stuff. He was providing value because the music was actually good. People liked it to the point that people were like, yo, we need more 50 Cent music. So when he finally put out something for sale, people ran and bought it, and he sold 10 million copies of the album. Because he made himself valuable in the scene, on the scene, by putting himself out there over and over and over and over again. Again, note, make sure you pay attention to this part. He's providing value. Now, he wasn't just putting out garbage. He's providing value and doing it over and over again to the point that people are like, man, whatever 50 Cent is doing, I want to be involved in it. And they did. They went and bought his stuff. It is easier to give value away for free than it is to charge it. I mean, that's just simple enough, right? Now, it doesn't mean you just give everything away for free forever. Eventually, you're going to want to charge for something so you can eat. But some people who want to be a part of a certain scene, you know what they'll do? They'll just offer themselves as a volunteer worker just to be in the room and have their face seen by people of influence. If you know somebody of influence who you want to get closer to, you want to make yourself valuable to that person, the biggest mistake that a whole lot of people make is that they go to that person, they ask, well, how can we make an exchange? What can I want to offer you something, but I want to get something in exchange, but you have not proven your value. If you're dealing with a person whose value is proven 100 times more than yours, and you haven't proven anything anywhere, you have no resume, you shouldn't be going to them asking for an exchange because you haven't proven that you're worthy of an exchange. And here's the other thing. They could easily find somebody who has proven themselves and get a more sure bet than dealing with you, taking a risk on you. If you want somebody to take a risk on you and give you a chance, the most important thing you can do is not ask for anything in exchange and provide value anyway. Are you capable of doing that? Do you have any value to offer besides, hey, can you give me something in exchange for something? Like, it shouldn't be an equal exchange when you haven't proven anything yet and you're asking someone who has. Does that make any sense?
To me, it does not. So maybe you can just offer as a volunteer to work, do something that's going to help people, help that person or help those people, whatever it is, whatever the scene is, help those people do better by your presence to the point that they're like, damn, I need this person around. Damn, this person needs to stay around. Damn, we haven't been paying them. All right, we need to start paying them so they don't leave. All right, we need to keep that individual around, whoever that happens to be. When I first started this podcast, it was a guy named Deep. I don't know if he still listens to this podcast, but he came to me and asked, hey, can I work for you for free? That was the email that he sent me. That was the headline. Can I work for you for free? He included a resume in his email. He referred to me as Mr. Baldwin's. Very professional the way that he approached me. He didn't approach me as if we were buddies or homies, because we weren't. I didn't know him. He had been a follower of mine for some time, and he approached in such a professional way. I wasn't quite looking for anybody, but the way that he approached me, I was like, I got to find something that this guy can do for me, because he seems like the type of person who's going to provide me positive value. That was the thought process that I had when he made that offer, because of the way that he approached me. Not because he offered any specific skill, and not because I was specifically looking for anybody. It was the way that he approached me. I said, I got to find something this guy can do. And he was the one who actually was the editor / producer of this podcast for the first maybe 4 to 6 months of the Work on Your Game podcast back in 2016. I'm telling you that again as an example of this is what you need to do to get yourself in the door of what you're doing. Swallow your pride, show up in humility, and offer to exchange value, and ask for nothing in exchange until you have proven yourself. Once you get your foot in the door and you've proven yourself, it's to the point that that person's like, damn, I got to keep you around. I got to keep this person around because I need them to stay. I need them to stay so I can keep doing, or they can keep doing whatever value they've been providing to me. That's the way that you get yourself in the room. That's how you get yourself on the scene, and that's how you stay on the scene, because the scene can't do without you by that point if you provide enough value. Point number 3. Today's topic is how to get yourself and remain where it's at. You need to know the right people, because knowing the right people and having the right people know you works a whole lot faster than being great at what you do but nobody knowing your name. It is more valuable for you. I've mentioned this many times over many episodes of the show. It is much more valuable to know the right people and have them know you than it is for you to know the right things and be great at what you do, but yet be unknown, be a nobody. A nobody with great skills is not going to produce much of a result because nobody knows your name. But if a whole bunch of people know your name, even if your skills are not that great and you know their name and they have some reason to believe that you're valuable, that's going to get you a whole lot further than being a nobody with amazing skills. A nobody living in a cave or in the middle of the woods, but nobody knows your name. It is much easier to get ahead via the right relationships than it is to get ahead via the right skills and talents. Now, while many people resist that truth, they don't really want to hear that because you invest a whole lot of time in your skills and talents, and you think because you are so skilled and so talented and you know you can produce at such a high level, you believe that the world should come knocking your door down. That's just not the way that it works, folks. You need to build the right relationships and get people knowing your name. It will get you further ahead, faster, and much easier than just accumulating a whole lot of skills but not knowing anybody. So here's what I would suggest you do. Accumulate skills, keep getting better, work on your game, do that. But at the same time, invest an equal amount of time in building relationships, finding and knowing the right people, being on the scene, making yourself known on the scene, making yourself so valuable to the scene that the scene cannot exist without your presence. That's when you become as Seth Godin calls, the linchpin. He wrote a book called Linchpin. If you haven't read that book or heard of it, and I suggest you go look it up. The author, again, is Seth Godin, and the book is called Linchpin. Spell it how it sounds. I guarantee Amazon will know what you mean. Most people think that things work the other way around. That if I get all these skills and talents, that eventually the world will come find me. If I build it, they will come. That is not the way it works. If you know people, they'll already be there. All right, they won't have to come because they're already there. They're just waiting on you to deliver something, and they'll take it. Same way Lil Wayne did, same way 50 Cent did, and the same way that you can do. But you have to fix your mind around this whole idea of you need to be where it's going on so that people can actually see you, know you, get comfortable with you, get familiar with you. And then when they need something, you're right there. So they don't even have to think about who to ask. You're right there. All right, you might as well get this opportunity. I might as well ask you. I might as well have you do this. Let's recap today's topic, which is how to be where it's at in life. Point number 1, market research. Where is it going down in your industry? Do you even know where it's going down? If you don't know where it's going down, make it your business to find out. There are conferences out there. There are virtual meetups. There are online groups. There are masterminds. You need to know where these things are for the things that matter most to your business. If you don't know what business you're in, then you can't do any of this. Know what business you're in. Do the market research to find out where it's happening in your business, and then make sure you are there as often as possible. Point number 2. Being there is the first step. Now you got to make your presence worth something while you're there. All right, don't just be a spectator. Don't just blend into the wallpaper. At some point, you got to make yourself into a somebody in that space. So how can you provide value to the scene? I understand you need to be doing this before you ask for an exchange. Is an exchange if you get something and they get something. But listen, you can volunteer your value by giving them something and asking for nothing in exchange. If you happen to get something back, cool. But if you don't, it's no problem, because you are buying your way in by exchanging value. This is how you buy your way in. All right, so if you don't have money to buy your way in by offering value. You may have to do a little bit more market research to find out, all right, where does this scene actually need help? And where's the intersection between what they need and what I can actually deliver? When you find that, that's the way you can buy your way in. So while you may be able to approach a person and say, hey, can I work for you for free? Can I offer you something? And let them figure it out, is even better. If you want to go a step further, offer to work for someone for free and you figure out what you can do for them. Offer what you can do to make it easier for them, so they don't even have to waste the brain cells trying to figure out how they can actually employ you. Figure out how you can help the scene. And even better, here's a further step, just start doing it. You don't even have to ask anyone if it's okay. Just start offering value. If you know it's offering value and you know it's making the scene better, just start doing it, and people will know you. And to the point, you'll get to the point that people need you. And at that point, they'll give you whatever you want to keep you around because they need you. You become the linchpin. Some people want to be a part of a scene, and they'll just, again, offer to volunteer their way in, work their way in, buy their way in through their work. And you provide enough value, eventually people will notice you and they'll remember you. Point number 3, remember that knowing the right people and having them know you works a whole lot faster than being great but a nobody. It is much easier to get ahead in life via the right relationships than it is to get ahead via the right skills and talents. Are you ever known somebody who was born into a rich family, or they were related to the right person? They just shot up the ladder ahead of everybody else, even though they're not very skilled. You ever seen that through anybody? Of course you have. This is the exact point that I'm making here. That's an illustration of the point. Knowing the right people or being related to the right people or somehow connected to the right people matters more in life, and it will get you success a whole lot faster than being the most skilled individual. Now, the best thing you can do is not only know the right people, but also have skills so that you don't have any holes in your game. Now, in the game group, there's a category on relationships where all the episodes of the 1300 on the show, where I've talked about relationships, where I talked about communication skills. That's another category. Where I talk about presenting yourself, public speaking, communication skills. This is one of the most important skills you can develop, because if you cannot speak to the public, you're not going to be able to get your points across. You won't be able to compel. You won't be able to convey. You won't be able to influence, persuade, or sell. And you need to do all of those things to create exchanges. You need to do all of those things to mind your business. So in the game group membership, there are categories for all of these. There are videos on them. There are articles on them. There are background explanations on them by me outside of the podcast content. And you got 1,300 episodes, over 800 hours of content straight from the Work on Your Game podcast. So I suggest you go to workonmygame.com/game group. Start your 2-week, 14-day trial, free trial of the game group memberships. You can get access to all of this material, and you can step your game up, not only when it comes to your skills, but also when it comes to your relationship building, getting yourself seen, heard, and known, because you need all of it in order to maximize your talents and maximize your game in your business. Work on your game. Dre all day.